listening to the House by the Video Store podcast.
There's no more room in hell. The dead will walk here.
We have such sights to show you.
I kick ass for the Lord.
God, keep away!
Welcome to the House by the Video Store podcast. I'm your host, William, and joining me today will be Sean.
Hello.
And Derek.
Hello.
And in this episode, we'll talk a little bit about A Nightmare on Elm Street, the classic 1984 Wes Craven film that launched the legend of Freddy Krueger and forever changed the face of haunted houses. And then sometimes, too, there's the haunted houses that would conflate things and get them wrong, so Freddy Krueger would have a chainsaw.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. That was like my first thought when you brought up the haunted houses, because I know, man, I can't think of the one here locally. Nightmare Forest. Freddy always had a chainsaw. I don't understand.
One of my favorite homemade costumes was essentially Jason Voorhees with the Freddy claw. I used to do that for Halloween a couple of years.
It's like something that, like, I remember as a child, as we went to some like haunted hotel or like fun run thing or whatever it's called, where you go to like Danger Run. The Danger Run, where you go to multiple haunted houses. And I stayed in the van. Like, we went with a bunch of people when I was little, and I just stayed in the van at all of them. So it's kind of like a Scooby-Doo van. And somebody got scratched by Freddy Krueger with, like, their dull claws that still, like, scratched them on their face.
Sweet.
And then Jason ran around with a chainsaw.
Yeah, I really love, though, like, the places that get it wrong. Like, I don't know if it's just, like, a conscious thing or, like, our budget's kind of small, so we're just going to combine... or have Freddy Voorhees.
They had a school bus at Nightmare Forest, right?
Yeah, and he was always in it.
Yeah. I remember that.
I think, too, like, one thing that, like, when I was a kid, I remember people calling him, like, Jason, like, Chainsaw Jason. But
really?
That really wasn't something he used in the movies. I think that was just, like, the local haunted houses just fucking it up.
Yeah, they did.
That's something I'm more interested in, because, like, I guess, like, everybody kind of throwing back to, with the past 2 weeks where we talked about Texas Chainsaw, maybe, Jason's a little more notable to everybody than Leatherface. So maybe they just took the chainsaw from that and gave it to him.
Yeah. That's interesting you said that too, William, because I definitely picked that. Because when I was really young too, I associated him with the chainsaw. And then, because I had saw some of the movies, and then eventually I started, had rented all of them. And I was like, not a lot of chainsaw action in any of these movies.
Yeah, so I think that was just people messing it up at haunted houses and stuff, and then people just generally referring to it as that. But we can jump into some news, and I guess we can discuss, too, some site news. So, as I'm sure everyone's aware, the trailer for Ash vs. Evil Dead launched on Friday after their Comic-Con panel.
Which was awesome.
And... as soon as the panel ended, we were scrambling to get a post up. As soon as they posted the video, we got the link to it, posted our site post, pushed it out on Twitter, and used just the Ash vs. Evil Dead hashtag. And then just on the image we put with it, tagged Bruce Campbell. And then I guess almost randomly, he retweeted it. And immediately we got thousands upon thousands of site visits, and it crashed the site for a little while.
Yeah, so thanks, Bruce Campbell.
We got lucky. He was the only person, or the only site that he retweeted, which was like awesome for our little site.
It's actually very awesome.
So it drove a lot of the most traffic we've ever had to the site. And I think it's also just because everybody else was probably at the event watching it, like the other big horror sites, or writing up some like 500 to 1,500 words post trying to philosophize, when they should do like we did and just write it ahead of time and just add the video.
We had a very basic one written around noon, just like, because we know we're busy. This isn't our main job. So something we could just plug in the link and go. And it paid off, actually.
Yeah, so thank you, Bruce Campbell. But if you want to send any money our way to help pay for the server costs, that'd be nice.
Yeah, we're having a
or if servers. You just want to come do a podcast or anything, we would.
We now have had our content in front of tens of thousands of people. So.
Yeah. And we also have an extra mic that we're not using, so
we can send that.
But to get back to Ash vs. Evil Dead, So the trailer dropped, and oh boy, it's everything I think people have been wanting for a very long time.
I mean, nothing was. I mean, okay, everything was there on Bruce Campbell's end, but also Sam Raimi held up his end of the deal, like which I expected because Drag Me to Hell again. I'm a big fan of that movie. I did that comparison video on that and the Evil Dead films, and it's just like that movie was more reserved because it was a little bit different style, but it just seems like he's throwing all of his tricks that he has at this movie. Like even the crash zoom, like the kind of tilting crash zoom on a light in the trailer excited me. I'm like, that is Sam Raimi. You know what I mean? You could just tell he has that feel. And
Well,
unfortunately, he's only directing that first episode, but still.
I just love too though that like Ash ends up living in a trailer, like and he still has the classic that he drives around.
It's the same as My Name Is Bruce. Did you ever see that?
Yeah.
Except this looks much better than that.
Oh
Yeah.
God,
Movie.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I love the floor, the shotgun coming out of the floor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
That whole
badass.
sequence was awesome.
Well, there's just so much. You know, what was it? It was about 2 minutes long, maybe 2-3 minutes long on the trailer.
Yeah, it was like
But
3
just-
minutes or so.
But like everything on it just looked awesome and just everything you expected. And Bruce Campbell, like, it seems like the one you had from Army of Darkness, that Ash, is what's going to be more in this series.
Well, I think they said that it was kind of like Ash from the end of Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, with more of the horror elements of Evil Dead 1.
Which sounds like pretty much the perfect combination.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of blood in the trailer. I mean, there's heads getting blown off and things getting cut up.
And so I read a little bit too. You know, of course, they said they're going to have tons of one-liners and everything in that, and they're not going to gyp the fans on the horror elements and the action in there, even though it's a TV show. And there was discussions like, should we make it an hour long, a half hour? And I think basically they're going half hour. That way, they don't have to pad it with a lot of stuff. They can just make it as fun and as fast as they want to. You know.
So they're not going to spend like 5 episodes looking for somebody in the woods
No, and
having CGI blood splattered all over the place.
yeah, and apparently they're going to have some really awesome sets. They said, when we do a set, you know, we're going to do it right, and we're going to do the Evil Dead version. So like a diner is not going to be like a regular diner. It's going to be like this crazy awesome diner. They said the library, I guess they're doing research on the Necronomicon. They said it's going to be like not a normal one, but like almost like a Harry Potter library. So there's going to be like mystical stuff a little bit in there. And then did you hear who Lucy Lawless is playing?
Yeah, I'd read the synopsis of the plot. I tried to keep myself from getting too spoiled by reading too much, but
Yeah, I couldn't help myself but reading like interviews and everything. But she is the second daughter of the professor that discovered the book. So, not to spoil too much, but as expected, Bruce releases it, and she comes after him, pissed off because he released the Deadites again, essentially.
yes.
So, I mean, it's cool. It's an awesome link back to the original one, and Lucy Lawless looks great in it. They had a working relationship on the the Xena and Hercules shows.
And two, like one thing I noticed in the trailer is they showed what looked like may have not actually been like brief clips from Evil Dead 1. They definitely had clips. Well, like the only one that was possible. Well, actually, it was because one of the deteriorating corpses of Scott
Yeah, it was all.
whatever. Wasn't it? Wasn't it his? I don't remember, but like it.
Yeah.
But they didn't have clips from Army of Darkness, and I think that's because Universal owns the rights to that. Mm-hmm. So I think they said like Army of Darkness is still in canon for this series. It's just probably not going to be referenced that much.
Yeah, they said they kind of had a tippy toe around that because the rights issue and everything. There was one other thing about Army that they mentioned too. I can't remember, but also they can't put S-Mart in the show.
Oh, because that was from Army.
Because that was Army. Yeah, that was the other thing I read about it. So it's supposed to be like defunct. So he no longer works there because it shut down or something. But I'm sure it won't be referenced in the show as by the S-Mart name.
Yeah,
Which is it's so stupid and unfortunate, how that stuff gets caught up.
and two, it'll be interesting to see like in this series he's going to have kind of a sidekick. It looks like compared to the prior movies, Evil Dead 2, people really only showed up in the second half, and he only interacted with them for like the last 20 minutes of the movie, kind of. So it'll be interesting to see the dynamic of like the more confident Ash in the modern day. Because of course, in Army of Darkness, he's interacting with tons of people, but they were all Luddites from the medieval ages, and
So he had intelligence above all of them, even though he was a dumbass. You know what I mean? So he had that confidence over them. The Plane has. I haven't looked him up on IMDb to be sure, but Plane. I can't remember his name, but his kind of the male sidekick. I guess the woman's going to be in it a lot too, right?
That's what it looks like.
Well, the male sidekick, is he the guy that plays Ben Stiller's like
Yes.
illegitimate child?
Yeah.
Meet the Fockers.
So what is
Yeah,
it?
it's
So Ray Santiago plays Pablo Simon Bolivar.
Yeah.
And apparently, like
Yeah.
I think it was his dad was involved with like supernatural stuff, so that's why he has somewhat of a tie into to the Evil Dead.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So, pretty much could not be more excited for that show coming October 31st, right?
Yeah,
Which is a Saturday because I was already going to take off work to watch that.
Yeah, it's going to be on Halloween night. It's going to be so essentially we're just getting a 5-hour version of Evil Dead 4
Yeah.
because it's 10 30-minute episodes. So that is one of the more exciting things that's happened in a while.
And they said too, like they're gonna, just like the movies, they're gonna wrap it up and then also leave a little bit hanging, you know. But they're already saying based on the reaction, they expect there to be another season, and apparently it is kind of confirmed now that Sam Raimi discussed possibly a film teaming up. What's her name from the Evil Dead remake?
From Mia.
Mia and Ash. Originally, I saw some news on that on Bloody Disgusting, but they didn't really have anything confirming it. And I saw a quote somewhere from Sam Raimi, and he's like, yeah, you know, there's thoughts of that now with the reaction to this and everything because the fans aren't stupid. Like, they got the Evil Dead, but I think Bruce was saying this, but they didn't get Ash and they didn't get Sam Raimi, and that's what they wanted. So there's a chance that they could have a movie with them teaming up. But he said that's Freddy's movie, the director of that one. So,
Yeah, Fede Alvarez.
yeah. He said he hasn't talked to him much, so he shouldn't have said anything at all because, you know, he's kind of respecting his characters and everything. But hey, there may be potential for that too. I hope they have a lot of fun making it.
Yeah, I mean, and to the way things work these days, like one thing we had talked about the Scream TV series that at Comic-Con got announced that it was getting renewed for a second season, and with the numbers it's pulling, I mean, Ash vs. Evil Dead, with the amount of like fan buildup there is, like the trailer on YouTube has over 1 million views now, which is kind of on par with like the Fear the Walking Dead and other stuff. So with as much of a fan base as that series has, I would think it could pull in good numbers, especially debuting on Halloween. And
the only issue it has. Yeah, the only issue it has it's on Stars,
but it's going to be graded on a curve because it's on Stars because they know their subscriber base. So it'll probably be a bigger percentage of subscribers watching, and it'll drive subscribers, or at least a shit ton of like iTunes or Amazon instant video sales.
And I'd rather get 10 episodes of, you know, basically with them being able to do whatever they want. I have to do it for cable of this show, and that's it, even if it failed rating wise, then get like, you know, 3 seasons of something that had to be censored and was kind of felt compromised.
Yeah. So this is probably the most exciting news that's happened this year in the horror world, at least for me.
Yeah, me too, for sure.
Because there's a lot of stuff that came out of this year's Comic-Con that made horror fans happy. Because something else that came out was the kind of insane trailer for Tales of Halloween, which is a anthology film that's coming out in October, and it has 10 segments in it.
Yeah, that's like, how's that going to work?
And it's
How short are they?
And it's got ones directed by Clive Barker, Neil Marshall, and others. So some, you know, pretty well-known names.
Well,
so
one thing,
and it's only, I think it's only an hour and a half too when I looked on IMDb. So it's not like it's super long.
But that's kind of good though too, because a lot of times, you know, a lot of the stuff is like filler. Like you watch some of these anthologies where, like, you know, VHS, which is like that. Sometimes there's a lot of filler on some of them, and sometimes, you know, if you're doing 10 of them in an hour and a half, you might just get straight to the shit. You know, like you're gonna cut everything else out and just get to the scares or the crazy stuff, which is good sometimes. But then again, it kind of makes you, like, watching the trailer, it looks pretty good. It just kind of is a little worrisome, though, that it's 10 in an hour and a half, because it makes you wonder what kind of quality it could all be.
It's at least going to have variety, but at the same time, I think there was a lot of cool stuff in the trailer. I don't think it was a particularly well-cut trailer, though, you know, because I felt like I didn't get a great sense of how they were going to handle those 10 stories, what the wraparound was for it. You know, and I know they just said crazy stuff happens on Halloween, but maybe it's just going to be a tighter and faster version of Trick or Treat where it all takes place in that town, since that guy mentions crazy stuff happens, you know, in this town. But
I mean,
I was kind of disappointed when I was watching the trailer and it was like,
well, there's
John Landis, Adam Green, Joe Dante, but they're not directing. They're just
they're just there.
yeah.
well, too, I think
actors.
part of like the trailers, like for this Comic-Con world, is I think a lot of times people rush trailers to get put together for these events.
Yeah.
Because they know that anything they show at the show floor will probably get leaked onto the internet. So they just try to put, like, or at least in recent years, they put together things that actually get posted to the internet. Because in years past at Comic-Con with Ash vs. Evil Dead, they might have just shown the trailer on the floor and then not premiered it online for another 2 months.
Yeah. That would have killed me.
But I think that you would have had to go and find like a grainy, like somebody captured on their cell phone, and
Yeah.
that's how I watched the Spider-Man 3 trailer back in 2007 or whenever it was.
Sam Raimi learned his lesson.
Yeah. Hopefully,
Well, I don't mean with how bad that movie was. I mean with putting it online.
well, both. I think he learned what it's like to not have creative control.
You didn't like emo Spider-Man?
I mean, when he danced, that was the highlight of the movie.
Yeah.
If that movie hadn't have been a kind of a mess, we may not have the Evil Dead series right now. You know,
He would have. I mean, the thing is, the movie still made a ton of money, and it was financially successful. It was more financially successful than the 2 relaunch movies they made.
It's still more enjoyable than Avengers the second or whatever.
There's a strict moratorium on that movie. We cannot mention it again.
All right.
See, so
what else news did we come out here? That might be a Hannibal movie, right?
yeah,
I
so
mean, that's the possibility.
yeah, so the TV series, like now in the series, like the story they got into right now, where it's at, is just batshit crazy, and the premiere, or not the premiere, but like the peak at the upcoming episodes looks amazing as well. But essentially, Netflix can't air the show because of the streaming rights deal with Amazon, so Netflix really can't pick it up. They'd only be able to air the seasons that they made and not the prior seasons. And then I think it would revert back to Amazon or something, so that they're not pursuing it. Amazon passed on it, and they're not exactly like clear on why they passed on it. But they did say, like at Comic-Con, Brian Fuller did say that they were looking into making features out of the series.
Features with an S. Wow.
Well, I'd heard that they talked about making a feature film, but I also heard rumors that, like, some people had said that it could take kind of the Sherlock approach and have like a couple of hour-and-a-half episodes come out every few years. So the BBC Sherlock, so have an approach like that, which I would be fine with. But he had made it sound like maybe just one movie, but that's at least, promising they could do that. I don't really know how the economics work on that, but
yeah.
We'll see. That's
hopeful.
The show's been really good this season, so hopefully they can continue it. Because they've taken, like, if you've watched all the movies, so like Red Dragon, Manhunter, Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal, like they've worked stuff in from the movies in ways you wouldn't expect.
That's cool.
So it's all these scenes.
I'm still going to keep watching that.
All these scenes you may have seen before, but kind of subverting how they work and changing the outcomes. And there's a lot of crazy sex stuff too. So, but so that was there. Then also the Krampus, the upcoming film from Michael Daugherty, who made Trick or Treat. There wasn't a trailer or anything, but they released some artwork and talked about the release date. And that movie looks like it should be cool. It has a pretty good cast too, so that's something to watch out for.
Yeah, I've kind of had my eye on that for a while. I hope that turns out awesome.
Yeah, because let's see who is in it. So it has Adam Scott in it, Toni Collette, David Koechner, the guy who was he was on Anchorman. Is what's his name? Champ.
Oh, Champ Kind.
Yeah. So
Waymo.
Yeah, so the guy that's he was also Todd Packer on The Office. But that movie looks like, I haven't seen any footage. It sounds like it's going to be cool. Let's see. There's some more. Guillermo del Toro talked about Crimson Peak. Said that it was, the first adult R-rated film in America he's gotten to make without creative constraints on it. So that'll be interesting to see.
That's cool.
Because, of course, like Pan's Labyrinth was like the one everybody knows he made. He also directed Blade 2. So he always considered Blade 2, even though it's like an R-rated film, to be kind of a comic book movie where he was bounded in by the Marvel trappings. But Crimson Peak looks like it. There was no new trailer. The trailer's still the same one that got released a while back that we posted to the site.
Well, speaking of somewhat slightly horror related and Blade 2, did you see the news about Wesley Snipes wanting to, or had talked with Marvel about a new Blade film or something?
Yeah. I mean, I think it'd be cool. I mean, because he's probably needs the money.
Yeah.
And I would love to see Wesley Snipes just, bust into a Marvel movie and like call somebody a motherfucker.
Well, yeah, it's just good old Avengers having fun
because
and getting Captain America getting mad for people saying ass, and then Wesley Snipes come in and start murdering people.
Because like in the X-Men movies, Wolverine said fuck, and then Days of Future Past they had one in there. So I don't see why Blade can't come in and call Spider-Man. He's like, hey, what's up, you spider fucker?
Aren't they gonna drop the F-bomb in the new X-Men Armageddon, or was that like somebody? I read something about that at the panel. Yeah,
so apparently, like, there's a scene where Apocalypse shows up and Magneto's in like some factory or something, and Magneto's like, "Who the fuck are you?" So
it's amazing that made news. I understand why, but it's.
I think you can use one F-bomb per PG-13 movie.
That's a big discussion my friend and I had whenever the fourth Die Hard was going to be PG-13. We're like, what? They've got to say it. And he's like, you could say fuck one time in PG. But then they used the gunshot in that movie. Did you see that?
Yeah, it's like, yippee-ki-yay, mother, and gunshot at the same time he says fucker.
Yeah. That's weak.
I did read an article on, I don't know who did it, The Verge maybe, why there's not going to be a Blade movie with Wesley Snipes. And it was somebody basically just saying they've got too many plans out. They've got this stuff structured. They're not going to be able to just slide one in there and blah, 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 blah. But then they also posted a thing about Patton Oswalt talking about working with him on Blade Trinity. Yeah. Did you hear about any of that story?
Well, I heard like from Ryan Reynolds stuff that he was just like Wesley Snipes' feelings are kind of hurt that they brought in like the Night Stalker characters with him and Jessica Biel. So the entire movie, he was just like in his trailer or on set, and he was in character. And he wouldn't talk to anybody.
Yeah. Patton Oswalt said he had to be in character, and he would write things on a Post-it note to hand it to the director and sign up Blade and hand it over. And you had to address him as Blade the entire time.
But I do think that with like the Netflix series that Marvel has and like the Punisher coming in there, like I think it could fit very well into the Netflix universe.
No, that's a really good point.
But
only Wesley Snipes, because if it's like honestly, I don't know, because I'm sure Wesley Snipes probably is not changed very much since the last movie came out, so you could probably still use him. But as somebody else as him as Blade, it just kind of interesting.
It would just be fun to see him again, because they have this whole universe now, and to be like, okay, well, actually, those movies kind of started the universe. You know what I mean? Like, even though it's not the same, but
well, you kind of watch those movies and you don't really feel like it's a Marvel movie. Like it kind of set the stage for what there is now, but. I don't know. Wesley Snipes is just so cool. Think about in the '90s, he was a big actor.
Yeah.
So it'd be kind of like nice to have him back. Something.
And those movies weren't made under the Marvel umbrella. They were made
New Line or what?
Yeah. So the rights are only back at Marvel because they didn't make another movie in the franchise within a certain amount of time. Kind of how they got the rights to the Punisher and Daredevil back too.
Yeah.
So we need a Punisher with Tom Jane and
Punisher versus Snipes. Blade. There we go.
Yeah.
That's their Batman Jane versus Superman.
Yeah, I would watch that. That should probably be pretty fun. Because Wesley Snipes be calling everybody motherfucker, and then Tom and Jane just kill everybody. So, and they'd have to kill John Travolta again. It's always nice when he gets killed on screen.
They actually would be funny is that since he's a Scientologist, if they killed him with psychiatric treatment and drugs. He's like, no. But see what else. Was there any other news?
I mean, this is not really. I don't really care that much. I love Ghostbusters, but they released that cast photo in full gear. Ghostbusters fans are so touchy. I'm not even going to comment.
What's funny though is
I don't really care. I think it's fine. Whatever.
With Kate McKinnon's hairstyle, they're very much achieving a look that's very similar to Egon from the cartoon series from the 90s or 80s.
I like her look in this. I don't care if this movie's bad. It won't change the other ones. So
no, just one of those things where it's like, to me, if I watch a Ghostbusters movie now where it's remade and I don't get a cameo from like Bill Murray or that Dan Aykroyd guy, I'd be kind of disappointed. Well, I only refer to Dan Aykroyd as that guy because like he's only ever been in like one good movie. So.
No,
Dan Aykroyd.
No. He was in good movies until Nothing But Trouble.
Yeah,
and then from that point forward, he only had small parts in decent things. Well,
he was in the Blues Brothers.
He was phenomenal in Grosse Point Blank. And plenty movies actually. But
Caddyshack 2.
I forgot he's in. Oh my god! No, just like within Aykroyd, it's like he was out of all of them. I just replace him with John Candy, and I'd probably be happy.
But it's just like Dan Aykroyd was somebody that was very talented and was a very good actor and writer when reined in by someone else. Yeah. Like, if you read about his original treatments for Ghostbusters, if Harold Ramis hadn't come in and helped rewrite it, it would have been a piece of shit. Because it had them, like, go into different universes and go into hell and, like, using weird guns and, like, didn't sound anything like what the movie turned out to be. Like,
I'll probably watch the new Ghostbusters when it comes out just out of curiosity. Like, it's just one of those things to me, it's just like, because that's another movie that we watch all the time growing up. And it just, without having Bill Murray making a cameo in it or Dan Aykroyd or any of the originals, it just kind of, I don't know, didn't really seem as interesting to me a little bit.
No, absolutely not. That's why I don't really care it could be good, it could be bad. It won't hurt my feelings either way.
Yeah, either way, it doesn't hurt my feelings. It just, like, to me, it just kind of sucks because there might be, I don't know, I guess there would be generations of people now that wouldn't know about the original.
I think that the likelihood of Bill Murray appearing in a new Ghostbusters film is actually increased with this version because he had sounded like he'd be open to doing a cameo, as opposed to a straight up Ghostbusters 3. He didn't seem that interested in. But that's also because I have no faith in anybody who is involved with the writing of a Ghostbusters 3 to produce something quality. So I would have been fine with it just not happening. Which is
Sam Raimi? Was that Sam Raimi directed? And it was be ridiculous. Or
Edgar Wright directed,
or Paul W.S. Anderson could direct it, and it would be an underground cave of some sort, and somebody would die by getting cut into
and they would change. They wouldn't have the traps and the proton packs. They would just have nets that catch the ghost.
Nets. Yeah, they'd accidentally catch a human and kill them. Something like that happened.
Okay. Did you guys see the trailer for Outcast? The Cinemax show, Robert Kirkman's. Did you see that, William?
No.
Only reason I brought that up, it's about somebody who's like possessed as a kid, and I think let's see here. Well, the reason I brought it up is because at least the pilot episode, I don't know if it's the whole series, is directed by Adam Wingard. So figured you'd be interested in that.
I'll have to take a look at that.
Yeah, I think essentially somebody was possessed as a kid, and I don't know, they're kind of exploring that stuff, and it has to do with possession, and it's on Cinemax. So there's a trailer out for that.
I bet there'll be some sex in that show. I mean, isn't it a requirement to be on Cinemax?
Yeah, I think it is. Cinemax.
But and then also the Fear the Walking Dead trailer.
Oh launched. Yeah, because we actually posted that, and I think that looks pretty decent. Like I like the direction it's going, considering the other horror shows out there, and I'm not a fan of The Walking Dead really.
So like, it looks to be more of like a wide scale story. I mean, my problem with The Walking Dead, and it's only like 6 episodes for the first season.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So my problem with The Walking Dead has been that it's 16 episodes a season. I feel like they pad things out too much and spend too much time doing nothing and doing what they, approach as character development, but then kill those characters off immediately after.
Yeah.
But like if it's something like this, it's kind of focused and to the point. I'm just interested what the budget's going to be, because with as popular as The Walking Dead, their budget still isn't very high. And this show, I think, based on the premise, would theoretically show much more stuff happening on screen that would require a budget. So I'm just interested to see how that works out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it just, I'm fine with something being character focused like The Walking Dead, because even I only watched part of that first season, but it just felt very sparse, and it did feel like sometimes they were, I don't know, some of that just drug for me. I'm like, geez, these hour-long episodes, there was some boring parts, so if they can keep it packed or with some type of interesting character developments or, the plot moving along, because there's a lot of stuff that can happen if they follow along the outbreak and the decline of civilization. Yeah, I hope that it's good. I'm definitely going to give that a shot for sure, though. That comes out in August, I think.
Yeah.
And we have that up on the site, the trailer for that.
Then I don't know if we talked about it before, but recently it's been announced that Twin Peaks' new season been pushed back from 2016 to 2017. So that will not be occurring anytime relatively soon.
Which is fine. We're getting that awesome Evil Dead show at the end of the year. Like, I mean, if I get the Evil Dead show and Twin Peaks at the same time.
I mean, too, when you think about it, so you're getting, essentially like Evil Dead 4, and then I think they'll probably overlap with the return of the X-Files, and there's like you said, there's Twin Peaks coming back. There's just so much stuff coming back, and there's a Ghostbusters coming back, and although a lot of people are
the new episode of Walking Dead is in October. If you are a fan, or new season, sorry.
Yeah, so all those shows, like we mentioned, Scream is still on. Scream Queens starts in September, I believe. So you have a lot of horror stuff that's going to be hitting TV screens in the next, 6 months. So it's kind of it's an exciting time on TV to see where all this goes.
Not looking bright for me on Scream Queens. The more I see of that show.
Yeah, I mean it's Ryan Murphy and like American Horror Story. I thought
and Glee.
Yeah, well,
the creators of both of those.
Like American Horror Story, I thought the first season was really effective until they unraveled the story and showed you what was going on, which reduced the amount of impact it was having. Season 2 was just batshit insane. There was like a dance number and aliens and all kinds of crazy stuff. Season 3 I haven't watched yet.
My wife watched, I think, all of those, maybe. She dropped out. I think she dropped out of season 3.
I mean, it's an anthology show too, so you don't have to watch the seasons in order. I mean, so it'll be interesting to see how Scream Queens works out. Scream Queens.
And also, we didn't mention we've the new main content for the site this week is top 5 underrated foreign zombie films. And that's Corey's list. William edited it.
There's some movies in there. Just out of those, I had seen one of them before looking at the list, and there's a few of those that since I have copies of now, I definitely watch. Cemetery Man seems like one that's something everybody should see.
Yeah, he showed me Cemetery Man a few years back, and I really like that movie. I was actually telling somebody about that like a couple months ago. That's one that kind of stuck with me, and at the time it was hard to find. I think it was kind of a rare copy, so I don't know if that's changed since then, but that's definitely a fun movie worth tracking down.
Yep.
The only other thing I haven't talked about Shudder yet, I don't think, which is the streaming service. I believe it's through AMC, but it's the Sundance Now people. It's a little bit like Netflix for horror films. I never did write anything up on it, but the only thing bad about it right now is they finally released the iPhone app, which for a while they didn't have it on there. It was on the site. They have it now, but you can't Chromecast anything. So unless you're using a browser on your TV, I think you can basically just watch it on your computer. It may be on Roku too. They had a Roku logo on there, but I haven't checked it yet. But it's got a really nice collection. I think you have to be accepted into the beta. They give you 2 months free. It has different collections, new stuff, old stuff. But yeah, so that's definitely something to kind of check out at shudder.com, SHUDDER. And whenever this is kind of up and running, I watch some stuff on there. Everything seems to stream really well. They've got like user reviews and stuff like that. The design is awesome. So I definitely think this is something, if you're listening to this podcast, definitely check it out, especially if they give you a 2-month trial, because there's a lot of stuff on there. Some of it is duplicate stuff that's on Netflix and everything, but there's some more esoteric stuff on there as well.
Yeah, so that is the streaming service Shudder that you can try out. So is there anything else on news or out of Comic-Con we want to cover before we get into the Nightmare on Elm Street?
There was a lot of Comic-Con stuff, but that's about all that comes to mind right now.
All right, so we can move into our discussion of the 1984 film A Nightmare on Elm Street. We're just getting to this movie because it's a series like Texas Chainsaw Massacre on the last podcast. We haven't really talked about much on the site yet, just because it's a franchise that, to me at least, like the first movie I really enjoy watching. Anytime I catch it, I'll watch it. But I'm not a big fan of a lot of the sequels.
The second one was probably one of the worst horror movie sequels I've ever. If anybody's ever, it was bad. It was very, very, very bad.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the only one that's on Netflix currently. So you can watch.
Yeah, you can watch that on Netflix. It's bad, but
from my recollection, the ones that I like, Part 3, The Dream Warriors. That's the one that everybody loves. And I thought it was fun. Like some of my favorite horror movies or anything, but it's fun. And then Wes Craven's A New Nightmare is pretty fun. It was kind of the self-referential meta stuff before Scream, but it actually didn't do very well at the box office because I guess people weren't ready for it yet.
I didn't understand it.
And then you had of course Freddy vs. Jason, where you had, wasn't the last on-screen Robert Englund performance as Freddy?
I believe so.
Yeah, so his last Freddy appearance before the remake with Jackie Earle Haley in the role. So,
which I heard a story. I don't know if it's true that Jackie Earle Haley was friends with Robert Englund, and Jackie Earle Haley was going to audition for the original Nightmare on Elm Street, and they were together, and he didn't get a role. Did you hear that? I don't know if that's legit because I just read it. I read it online somewhere.
Was it on?
It's gotta be true.
Was it on your own blog? Let's look up and see how.
I said it was a rumor, and I'm the one that started the rumor. That's the Hunter S. Thompson quote about that mayor doing drugs and everything.
It's like, just disprove this and we're fine. Let's see. So he was born in 1961, so he would have been like 22 or 23 when that movie was getting made.
There you go. It's confirmed.
It happened.
So the first movie though, like I think you'd be very hard pressed to find anyone that argued with the first movie in the series is by far the best. It's the one that everybody thinks of when they think of the series. It's the one that has all the most iconic scenes. Because even if you haven't watched in a while, you still probably remember the scene of Johnny Depp getting sucked into the bed and the gusher of blood hitting the ceiling. And that's just one of the more iconic horror scenes you can think of. But then the movie also kind of balances out with stuff that's a little bit goofy, like one of the first appearances of Freddy's when he's walking down the alley with the long googly arms.
Yeah, no, but
just kind of shambling along.
It's kind of awesome though. Like, there's a lot of stuff to do like about this movie. Like, it's kind of goofy, but I don't know. I think that all good horror movies from this time period kind of were. I mean, think about it. Like, even Friday 13th, there's like goofy scenes.
Those
in
are
it.
definitely. I mean, Halloween is the one in my mind that kind of holds up pretty well. I mean, there's some bad acting in there, but at least the tension and fear. But Nightmare on Elm, Friday 13th, but kind of most of that is gone for me. The fear, like there's no big tension in those films, and this film it has a little bit, but yeah, it's definitely lost a lot from when I was a kid.
I'll say this though, I still think is probably out of the three we just talked about, probably one of the more fun ones.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of the stuff, just because of Freddy's character and the stuff that he does, like the girl when she's in the bathtub and then his hand comes out, like that's just like, if you got to watch, because obviously we didn't get watching in the theaters, but if you were in the theaters watching the crowd of people, I'm sure that was like a fun scene to see how everybody reacted from it.
Yeah, it was really inventive. I mean, they had the they had the blank check to have the most inventive kills and kind of scenes out of all of those films because it dealt with dreams and essentially fantasy.
Yeah, it's just like a kind of I don't know. I just enjoyed it because there's just a weird feeling in the movie. It just like you said, at times it's when you first watch it a while, it's always kind of difficult to tell what's a dream and what's not. And then when Freddy comes around, like he actually has. He was one of the first like major killers who actually had personality.
Well, and two, though, in the first film, he was a lot quieter than he was in the sequels.
Yeah, it kind of developed throughout.
I think Wes Craven, from what I read, intentionally, his intent was to make him kind of a silent killer like, Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees.
And two, like one thing that this movie gets right, and a lot of movies don't, and like I think we talked about like the Scream TV series gets really wrong, is that it has kids who look their age. They have houses that aren't mansions, that aren't like so still that Scream season premiere going back to like the Wes Craven wheelhouse, even though he had nothing to do with the show aside from getting a check for having his name attached. Like the opening scene has a girl that's in like the house has like these huge plate glass windows and like an in-ground pool that's like super big and like a multi-million-dollar home. Like in this movie, everything looks like normal houses for the most part, like normal neighborhoods. Nothing's outlandishly garish and super big, and everybody looks for the most part like they're the ages they're playing. And of course, it has the first performance by Johnny Depp. Before he became Captain Jack Sparrow. Everything he did became a Tim Burton movie that was ruining someone's childhood. But it's another thing where the performances are kind of clunky sometimes. But, the main character, Nancy, is somebody that you actually like. So you do have investment when it happens to her. It's not like some of those Friday 13s where you could give a shit less.
Yeah. Yeah. I was really hopeful. Like I said, I liked all the inventive kills. The arms thing was a little weird. Like the tub scene, that was just an awesome, simple effect. They built that, I guess, like kind of a pool underneath of it or a big tank and everything. Like that was an awesome, just practical, no visual, no visual effects, computer graphics or anything. It was just like an awesome little scene in that movie. And especially the room turning scene where they built that room to turn. When I can't remember her name, when she goes up the wall and is getting sliced up in the beginning.
Yeah. Was it Tina?
Yeah, I think it was Tina. But I had high hopes for the remake, only for the fact that they've got CGI. If they use it in the right way, I'm not talking about CGI blood and CGI creatures, but it's a thing of where you can tell when something is CGI, but if they use it to alter the backgrounds or the environment in a certain way to play tricks on you, that's what could have been really fun. They could have went crazy with this film and took advantage of it being made in whatever year it was made, 2010. I don't know what year it was, but they had a lot more creative options in that, and it's like this film just succeeds far and above that remake so much.
Did the remake have a similar scene to that?
I can't remember because the last time I saw it was in theaters, and to be honest, I did fall asleep at one part. It was that bad.
I did catch it on HBO, like bits and pieces. I did watch it once all the way through, and then catch it a couple of times, just parts here and there.
I have it now. I'm gonna rewatch it soon to find out, but it's gonna be painful. I know.
Like I don't think it trying to recreating the scenes. It was just kind of the glossy Platinum Dunes style film.
Yeah,
but
well, it's funny because that scene, probably the best version that was remade of the scene was in Scary Movie 2. If anybody's ever watched that, because instead of getting killed, she just gets sexually assaulted by a ghost, and they just fuck all over the ceiling. Which I feel like a lot of times we end up coming back to making references to Scary Movie 2.
I think it's you.
Yeah, it's probably just me. I really like that movie.
Because there was that one, I don't know whose DVD it was we had at some point, but that movie was in the DVD player for like 2 years.
Yeah. I was really bad at one point. People brought movies over, like they never got them back. So I ended up with all the seasons of The Office, and I ended up with a bunch of stuff somehow. And people and like most of the seasons of South Park and Scary Movie 2 somehow.
I have my brother-in-law's Friday the 13th collection 1 through 8 on DVD that I've had for about 8 years now.
But they're not missing it. I mean, most of those movies are on Netflix now.
Yeah.
But and like one thing too, I think we have to get to is so Home Alone ripped off this movie with the end scene where Nancy rigs the house up with booby traps.
Oh yeah.
But it seemed more believable to me that a high school age girl with the ability to drive or have friends drive her around and have money could go and purchase all this stuff and do it versus a 8-year-old kid, especially somebody from the McCulkin clan. But
bad decisions all around with them.
But
hey, if he's just going to trick him on to using heroin, he probably would have been successful in that, and Joe Pesci just be all freaking out.
But the movie definitely tapped into something with dreams, because I think a lot of one of the effects that this movie has that makes an effective horror film is sometimes the movies themselves aren't super scary as an experience watching it, but the idea that something coming after you in your dreams can spawn you to then have dreams about it, or people that have sleep paralysis or stuff can have that kind of seep into it, and then that can become scarier than anything you saw in the movie.
Yeah, it was such an awesome, high concept idea that as soon as you heard it, you understood it. And as a kid, watching these as a kid, you knew that was Freddy's deal. And it was like, oh, shit. I like these movies. I think I liked them more as a kid. I need to rewatch them all again. But because it still creeped me out a little bit at the time. I mean, now a lot of that's just kind of evaporate. I don't know if it's desensitized and just there's not a lot of movies that scare me anymore at all. But, as a kid, it was an awesome angle. And Freddy became fun too, so there was just a lot of things about this series that I liked as a kid.
One thing too, though, I really like about this franchise, and it's kind of played up in a lot of movies now. Like I said, I'm a hypocrite on the way movies end, but most of the Friday 13th, most of the Elm Street movies kind of always end the movie with a sense of relief, everything's over, and then you start seeing weird things happen, and then you realize that person's in a dream, and something happens with Freddy. And I just always kind of love that because it just seems like everything's fine, and then as you watch the background, you can start seeing things change and get weird. And then pretty shortly after that, it's Freddy's having something to do with it, and it ends like that.
Well, in the last scene, the movie's shot very soft focus or something, where everything's just kind of glowing and super bright, and
it looks like it could have fit into a scene in Blue Velvet, David Lynch. Kind of a dreamlike.
But I just always liked it in the movie because it's just at least that Freddy's still there. It's not like a lot of movies where it's a cliffhanger, something bad happened. But it's always it's just a weird feel you get from that when you see it, because you just know it's a dreamlike sequence, and it's not going to end good.
Yeah, the pacing's pretty well done in this movie. There's all these cool effects scattered throughout, but also you're kind of guessing what's a dream, what's not. So you're kind of always a little bit on edge as far as trying to figure out what is reality and when and where people are safe.
And one thing too, watching this that I remember that we can mention is that Lynn Shay, who was Elise in the Insidious series, was one of the teachers in this movie. Yeah. And she doesn't she's looked the same for a long time. But
yeah, she's aged pretty well.
And it's one of those things.
Or she looked really old and she was 20 in this film.
And it's one of those things with horror that you see a lot. Because, of course, Wes Craven has made his name in horror, and that's where all of his big successes have been. But, Johnny Depp's first movie was here. And, Sam Raimi went on to do the Spider-Man films and the Oz the Great and Powerful. So, horror's a launching pad for a lot of people to become much bigger stars. Kevin Bacon was in Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
So, it's just, it's a genre that I think lets people use their creativity, and especially for actors, it doesn't require a lot of them for most of these movies, just because you see a lot of young actors roll through the horror films.
Yeah, I think Johnny Depp was hired because Wes Craven's daughter said he was hot. Essentially, I think I heard that's why he got the role.
And then I'm pretty sure that they casted Skeet Ulrich for Scream because he looked like a young Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
And then they even had, like, in Scream, he climbed through Sydney's window, kind of like how Johnny Depp's character, Glenn, climbed through Nancy's window. So there's, like, some callbacks there. And two, like, in the Scream series, the killers are always, like, falling over the place and flipping around and stuff. And in this movie, Freddy does that. Like, when he's attacking Nancy, like, they're flopping down the stairs or on the bed, and more realistic to how that would actually happen versus some of the movies. Like, you know, Michael Myers is always slowly stalking someone.
Yeah, what I think, too, though, when you have that where, like, the killer's not great himself, that makes it a little more interesting because it seems more real.
It adds more tension for sure.
Yeah.
Because you're waiting for the next move if the person being chased is going to effectively knock them back or whatever, you know. So it's more of a game of cat and mouse. But yeah, this definitely holds up better than Friday the 13th, though, for sure. First couple of those, but I still think there's some goofy stuff in the beginning, but for the most part, it still holds up pretty well for what it is.
And I think so. The scene when Nancy's phone is ringing right before Glenn gets turned into a geyser of blood. There's a scene like where she picks up the phone and like the tongue comes out.
Yeah.
And I think that inspired Rob Zombie's entire directing career.
Yeah, he's like, you know what? I'm going to take that one scene
and stretch it into a career.
Yeah, stretch it into a career.
That's actually how he asked Sherry Moon Zombie for the first time. He's like,
that's how she responded to. So that's how
that actually sounds like a scene out of the Coneheads or something.
Yeah, sadly, it's not. It's just Rob Zombie and everything he does. So
I'd say that you like, to echo what Sean said, like not Friday 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street definitely holds up. It's something that, you know, it's still a very enjoyable movie to watch, even if it's not super scary. And I think franchise-wise, it's kind of tough. Like, so kind of the big three horror franchises are Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday 13th, and Halloween. At least the, you know, classic franchises.
Now
that had a lot in the series. You know, there's some other ones, but
I feel like Nightmare on Elm Street probably has the least amount of sequels though, out of Halloween, Friday 13th, and that. Because I know with like Friday 13th, how many there? I don't even know how many of them there are. There are at least 8, right?
No, there's
more.
Remember, it goes Jason X. That's 10.
Yeah, 10.
And then there's Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah,
you want to count that, and then the remake.
So yeah, but 12.
I think so. Yeah, because the next one will be the 13th they made.
Yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street, because I have the Blu-ray, there's 7 of the original, and then Freddy vs. Jason, and then the remake.
So there's
9.
9. And then Halloween, there's at least 10.
Yeah.
You know?
So but, I think that, like, to me, I think that when you're comparing, like, the original films and not the series, if you're looking at, like, Halloween, Friday 13th, and Nightmare on Elm Street, in my opinion, it goes Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, then Friday 13th.
Yeah, and it has to do with the caliber of the directors. Like, you know, Wes Craven is a good director, and John Carpenter is, you know, really awesome as well. And it just shows how much they were able to kind of make something that holds up over time.
The only thing I say though is Friday 13th didn't. I'm not going to say that the second Friday 13th was a stronger film than the first or better, but it was on par with the first. Whereas like Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street both dropped off on the second.
Well,
I think Halloween 2 was not that bad.
No, it wasn't. It was that bad. It wasn't as good. I like it too, but it wasn't as good as the first one. But like Nightmare on Elm Street 2 or whatever it's called is not good.
Yeah.
You know, in my opinion. I've watched it like a couple times because me and my girlfriend watched it earlier today too, and I had a chance just to watch the first 2, and it's just it was not good.
One of the things you have to look at on these movies, so pretty much the entire franchise, so like with, you know, Halloween, John Carpenter directed one movie in the series, which was the first, which was the best. Wes Craven directed the first one, and then Wes Craven's A New Nightmare, but he didn't do the sequels. So that makes it understandable there's a drop-off. And then in Friday 13th, like, I don't think that was like an auteur shaping a classic movie. I think that was a concept.
You're exactly right. That's why it's not as strong.
There's not really as long as you just killed young people with somebody, I mean, it would have been a good movie or just an enjoyable horror movie. But I think, it's kind of interesting to me, though, that like Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake didn't, that they haven't really done anything else with it. Because I feel like out of like the three, that one's like probably the easiest to keep going.
Have you seen the remake?
I have not, no.
Oh, I mean, it's totally clear. And everybody was pissed off that Jackie Earle Haley was going to be Freddy Krueger. Not pissed off that he was going to be it, but basically that Robert Englund wasn't, And he did all right. He was fine, but and he wasn't the main issue in that film. And
So-
it was a disaster.
Was it as
I
bad
felt
as,
like it.
was it as bad as Poltergeist?
Yeah.
Was it-
for
it
me,
could- honestly-
it was probably worse.
Yeah, I would say it could be worse just because like Nightmare on Elm Street's I would have to
So
hold it a
the,
little higher. But
The budget for the remake was $27 million, and it made $90 million worldwide. So it performed about the same as the Friday the 13th reboot that happened in 2009, and the remake came out in 2010. So it did about the same. I just think that the fans of the franchise were pissed, and the general audience was kind of like, eh.
Yeah. And they probably knew they weren't going to get away with it the second time. Once people were burned once, they were like, I don't know if it's too much of a risk. Like the Friday the 13th remake, I think that was worth risking making a sequel. Obviously, should try really hard with that. But Nightmare on Elm Street, I think they were right to just step away from that.
Yeah, I mean, and two, like, they're making another Friday the 13th, making another Halloween. I haven't heard anything about a new Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like Robert Englund, for better or for worse, he makes up so much of that character, so they're kind of stuck in a hole there with continuing that franchise.
And then somebody did ask at Comic-Con this year in the Ash vs. Evil Dead if they would do Ash versus Jason versus Freddy. And he's like, only if I could kill both of those fuckers. So I doubt that they let that happen.
Wouldn't that be great if they just did one episode? New Line was like, screw it. And then Robert Englund said, all right, I'll put it on, for this 1.5 hour episode. That would be, imagine the ratings on that.
Balls to the wall. Like, because that show looks like it's going to be crazy as hell.
Yeah.
And if you had an episode where he goes to Camp Crystal Lake and... Because they laid the seeds in the franchise with Jason Goes to Hell, like for the Necronomicon to tie into the story and the dagger and stuff.
Yeah.
And then from the looks of this new Evil Dead series and the Evil Dead remake from 2013, or I guess it's more of a reboot than a remake, it seems like there's multiple people that interact with the Necronomicon and the Deadites in the universe. So they could still tie it back into the other stuff. I don't think that the studios that own those characters want to relinquish control or let Ash beat them.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, though, like one thing we learned though from all these all the sequels and remakes, and you can do whatever you want to Jason and Freddy, and they're coming back.
Well,
they die.
He means like he doesn't want them to have that reputation of their legacy of like, oh, Ash beat them. But they should just let it go with Robert Englund because they're kind of in a hard spot, like I said, and they'll be able to pull off another remake or something, and maybe start thinking about it in 5 years or so. But
I think that's the thing that makes it tricky, though. With
and it would be a TV show too, so hopefully they would be more willing, because it's like, this is just a show; it's not a line of movies.
But that's the bad thing about Nightmare on Elm Street is with Freddy Krueger, you have somebody that was the main actor for him for years. And so now everybody's accustomed to him, whereas like Jason, they probably changed actors on him in every movie, and it didn't matter if they did anyway or not.
But
because
only the hardcore.
It did matter because they people have their favorite Jason for sure.
But it's only the hardcore horror fans who are like, "Fuck this new guy, I want Kane Hodder."
Yeah.
But Jason doesn't really have a personality.
Well,
you know what I'm
maybe-
saying? Like he doesn't ever.
He walks. People are like he walks, but I know what you're saying. The general population doesn't pick up on that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like I couldn't tell you a difference between the first couple appearances of him, other than his actual physical appearance in the movie, what he was wearing.
What would be funny though is if they have Jackie Earle Haley as Freddy Krueger show up in Ash vs. Evil Dead. And then once Ash kills him, he's like, "That's not the real Freddy Krueger." And then they just use that to wash away the character. And
that would be pretty good.
Although I don't think the studios are that.
I was I was pretty upset because I don't know what Mortal Kombat was, but Freddy Krueger's in it. But it's the remake one. It's Jackie Earl Haley. And it's like, why? You guys just lay off of it. You know what I mean? Like, don't worry about building up that brand. Just
sit on it.
Yeah, put Robert Englund in there.
But so I guess we can kind of wrap up our thoughts on the movie. For me, like I said, I think that it's a great movie. It's one of the ones that definitely is fun to watch. Whenever it's a movie I can watch multiple times. I never really get tired of watching it because it just has and it kind of does have like that Scooby-Doo-ish feel of like they're trying to figure things out, but that group quickly gets whittled down to just two.
and very much like It Follows, like kids trying to solve this thing.
Yeah. And then the adults saying like, oh, in all of your dreams, you're seeing the guy we burned alive for being a pedophile without us ever telling you about it. And this girl got shredded to pieces in her sleep and your boyfriend got sucked into his bed. Like no one even, like, how do you explain that? Like the bed springs gave away and he got pulled into the bed and they just shredded him to pieces and poured more blood on the ceiling than he has in his entire body.
Yeah,
It's just a terrible accident.
You're gonna need a mop.
So, well, actually, too, in the movie, Nancy at some point is watching The Evil Dead.
Yeah,
And so maybe the gushing blood they had was a reference to having more than Evil Dead, which then Evil Dead 2 decided, fuck it, we're going to have blood spray out of the wall.
Well, I watched Never Sleep Again, that documentary, and Wes Craven, he didn't mention Evil Dead at the time, but he said, I figured they did it in The Shining, so I thought we could, if they could get away with it, we could. So that may have just been that deal, but
Yeah.
But was there that much blood? I don't know. Apparently, they made him cut a little bit of that too in PPA.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, there was a lot, but I guess there's a certain cutoff, like, oh, you can only pump 3 truckfuls into the room. All right, so
Yeah, I want to see an Inception maybe with Freddy Krueger in there.
oh,
That's what I want to see.
that would be a real mindfuck.
Yeah, that would be good.
I don't think the average person could follow it though. Okay, so Freddy Krueger, if you're just dreaming, he can't kill you. But if you're a dream within a dream, he can hurt you. If you're a dream within a dream within a dream, he can kill you. And then if you take him 3 levels down, I don't know how that would work.
Yeah, they would have to pull out a chalkboard
And then-
in that movie and be like, okay, here's what we're dealing with.
And it just turns out that's just another plot line from Shutter Island. And then nobody knows what's going on.
And it's actually all Bob Newhart's dream.
Oh, no, yeah.
Spoiler alert for the Bob Newhart show.
Yeah, it's...
I would love to see, an awesome director take on Nightmare on Elm Street. Just a great visual director, which I think the director of the remake, I can't remember who it was, but I believe he was a music video director. And that's why I kind of had high hopes because I thought, oh, this is a very visual guy. He could pull off some great, visual tricks and everything. And use CGI, if he uses it in the right way, like he could do some cool things with this. It has the conceit of the dream world and stuff. It has so much potential for just a fun and imaginative films, and especially now with what can be done. So it's just a shame that they're kind of in a roadblock from Robert Englund being the role and that remake being so crappy, The
remake was directed by Samuel Bayer, who worked on music videos for such artists as Metallica and Green Day, it looks like. So, Green Day stopped being cool in the 90s.
So what does he direct? Let's see. I'm looking at his directing. That was the last he did. He's done a couple shorts since the Nightmare on Elm Street.
My Chemical Romance.
I'm really surprised he hasn't had any other feature film directing work.
I mean, because that movie did, although they didn't, deem it successful enough for an immediate sequel, it wasn't a disaster.
Yeah, financially it was. It was, it was just so boring.
Well, and M. Night Shyamalan's gotten to make continually worse grossing movies that have bigger budgets.
That's true. It's true.
So you think they give this guy another shot?
Well, but he had a couple hits off the top. Yeah, it's just a shame.
All right, so Derek.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts?
It is a movie. No, I don't know. I just really enjoyed it. Like it has a weird vibe because of the dream stuff in it, and it's one of those movies where like after the first like Sean always says it doesn't really obviously it's not going to scare me anymore, but probably when I was younger it probably scared me a lot. But I just enjoyed some of the creativity in it. Whereas some of it came off kind of goofy with the like Stretch Armstrong like pipe cleaner bendy arms, look, it didn't hold up too great, but I still love those old practical effects. And just like you said, like the Scooby-Doo-esque like feel, I always enjoy that too, because you just have a bunch of kids trying to figure stuff out, and then you have the oblivious parents that like things are happening and they're just like, oh, okay.
While the mom's drinking liquor from a Windex bottle out of the
It too, like when
closet.
At the end, towards the end of the movie, when Freddy is on fire on top of the mom and burns him to a skeleton, and she just like levitates down into the bed and disappears. Yeah. Nancy's dad's just like, oh,
yeah.
And then he leaves her in the room. It's like
another thing. The burn effect that stunt was awesome, really cool. No CGI, but.
It was Fat Freddy.
Freddy did gain about 50 pounds for that stunt.
Oh, another thing too, I forgot. This is because I watched the second one too. This one is the one with the face through the wall, correct?
Yeah, that's another super iconic scene.
That's a great scene. Like that's one of the most memorable scenes in any movie. Like that to me is almost just as memorable. I can't talk.
Memorable
as the scene. Yeah. From the original Texas Chainsaw, where he hits a guy in the head and drags him through the door and slams it. Like I love both those scenes, and like that's just as good as two as Halloween with Michael Myers just raising up. Like I love stuff like that because that's things that stick with you, and that's just been something through like a staple of horror because you've seen like that reference a lot in other movies since then.
Yeah. I mean, too,
it was like a
they used spandex on that wall.
Yeah, I was gonna say like a spandex wall.
It was just fun because that's just like almost just like a funhouse type thing. I don't know, just a creepy, terrible funhouse where something like that would happen.
And then, there's other movies that did it too, like Peter Jackson's The Frighteners had done that.
Yeah, that's even like the cover.
Yeah, that's a movie I haven't thought about in a while.
Yeah.
Another thing too is
a little bit Day of the Dead too. The zombie hands are coming through the wall.
Another thing too, though, is I think that we talked about this before. I'm pretty sure it's just like the cover art from the '80s is so much better. You look at the cover art from this, and or the poster art, and it's just to me that makes that sells the movies. When you look at this, it makes you want to watch that movie. Where a lot of times you see stuff now and it's just like, man,
it's just a bunch of Photoshop.
Yeah, like I always kind of people that are a lot younger than us now. They're growing up. It kind of sucks for them not going through the video stores and seeing the cover or the cover art for these movies because I think that's a huge selling point in this movie is the cover art's so good. And the Friday 13th store always good too. I think that's just something that made these movies. Now that's not as big as thing anymore.
Yeah, I'd say for when I was younger and used to go to the video store, the horror section was always the one. We typically didn't rent things from that section when I was, 5 or 6, but I would always go to that section and look at all the covers because they were always the ones that just the covers themselves would make me scared and make me think the movies are scarier than they ever actually were when I watched them.
The Silence of the Lambs cover is the one I always remembered the most, almost.
Yeah, that one, and Dead Alive too because I always saw that.
Yeah, I mean, in that movie, that was in Corey's top 5 underrated foreign zombie flicks, and I hadn't watched that movie in a while, and it's just like, wow, there was a lot of blood in that movie.
It's pretty fucking crazy.
Pick up a lawnmower and just lay it down on people.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
That's an awesome movie as well.
Yeah, so I think we all say, big fans, the original Nightmare on Elm Street. The later sequels, I mean, that's part of the reason we haven't talked about it because we're not.
In the second one, there's a scene where an entire high school party gets boiled in a pool, so that was kind of fun. Outside of that,
I'm gonna go through all these because I recently got them all on Blu-ray. I just kind of want to revisit them because I've never sat through and watched them all in order, through. I read them in piecemeal when I was younger, and then I've just watched them on TV and caught them here and there.
Yep, so you can just wrap this up. And as always, if you like what you're listening to, you can go to our iTunes and our iTunes page and give us a review, hopefully 5 stars, which would be very nice. Just let people know we're out there, or even if you don't give us 5 stars, write a review that kind of explains what you think of it. That helps other people find it and make decisions as to whether or not to subscribe to it. And you can always find everything we're doing at our website at housebythevideostore.com. That is, unless Bruce Campbell sends out more tweets that bring our servers crashing down.
Yeah, give us some Facebook lights and Twitter as well too, because we need to keep that traffic going. We're having some new server calls thanks to Bruce.
Yeah, so, and two, we're always looking for feedback. We do tend to get feedback on YouTube from people, which is great. Then we get feedback sometimes on the other social media services, but always just if you like something, don't like it, let us know. That helps us shape the content we're doing.
Yeah, comment on the site too as well. We have a commenting system. William, real fast, quick. We'll make this quick. Scream episode 2. Did you watch it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I don't know what to say about it. I watched both of them as well.
The one thing that struck me after I watched it was that they kind of positioned the series as like a revenge type deal. Mm-hmm. And the first episode, the kill that occurred fit into that narrative. The second episode, the kill that occurred went in the exact opposite direction of that narrative and kind of targeted somebody who would be somebody that would be seeking revenge themselves and who hadn't done anything to hurt anyone. And so I don't get what the internal logic is.
So the surviving lesbian killed the girl in the beginning of the first episode, and then the main character's boyfriend that had slept with the girl that died, he killed the other lesbian in this episode and got back at her for that. I don't know. I'm just talking out of my ass, but
yeah,
I wonder if kills are going to go back and forth like that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and two, like the one thing that they have that's like a benefit for like a slasher series that they can exploit, because in like in movies, like Scream's kind of like one of the bigger whodunit like horror films. You only have like an hour and a half to 2 hours to kind of flesh the story out and to produce characters that people have to wonder who it is. On a TV series, you can actually make a little bit more drama out of it because you can build characters up more and you have more time to develop it.
Yeah.
But then it's also one of those things where I bet if you go back and watch this series from the beginning, once the season's ended, it's probably not going to match up, or there might be like just continuity stuff.
Yeah, inconsistencies with some things. Yeah.
So we'll have to see. Like the second episode, it wasn't dramatically better or worse than the premiere. It kind of followed in the same template. Like it seems like there'll be like one kill to open the episodes, and then more stuff happening throughout. They're just close calls or people trying to figure things out. It's just none of the main characters that likable.
The main girl, I like her well enough.
The Emma?
Yeah. She's fine. She doesn't annoy me.
Yeah, well,
she's
are you going to stay?
tolerable.
Are you going to stay with it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll
think
keep
I am
watching
too.
it.
Yeah, I think I am too. As boring as some of it is, and just kind of, melodramatic.
Well, the one thing
it's just a different tone than Scream. It feels like, I don't know.
Like the one thing I do have to point out is the character that's like the Randy character in the series gets his own theme music when he starts doing like the meta commentary about.
Yeah,
it's like come on.
Some of that is just so cheesy. So
it's just like I don't know. Like I rewatched Scream 2 recently, and there's like the scene where they're like in the class discussing movies. They're talking about sequels, and that all came off natural. That all came off,
Yeah.
But then in this series, when they talk about other movies and stuff, it just feels cheesy.
Every time it feels so contrived, and like the end of the first episode when he's going through the hallway, like it all just feels so forced. It's like this isn't what the show's really just some teenage drama with some killing in it, and like all the Scream elements are just like forced into this, you know what I mean, this world, it seems like.
Yeah, and then like there's like the end of the first episode, he said it's like Friday Night Lights where you're supposed to love all the characters. It's like, no, dude, none of these characters so far made me enjoy them that much.
Yeah.
But But also, so to get back to all the closing this out, so if you want to find anything we're doing on the internet this week, you can find me on Twitter at will_droid.
And I'm at @SplevensSean. Our HBTVS is HBTVS_official for Twitter, Instagram. Is that what Vine is also, William?
Yes.
Okay. And then our Facebook is just, is that /HBTVS?
Yes. You can also just search for House by the Video Store.
Yeah. And Derek, you're on Instagram mainly, right?
Yeah, at Meta World Derek. I need to use my Twitter more. I just never do.
You ain't tweeting enough, boy.
Bruce Campbell, he'll retweet you.
Yeah, all I know is like one of the only people I follow, like 5 people on Twitter, and that's one of them.
I think we just looked down on that.
Yeah, that was a huge thing for us. Fortunately, we didn't get a ton of new followers from it, so it won't be like a long-lasting effect. But it never hurts to get our name out there and just people to actually kind of know who we are. So if you're a new listener, thank you for finding the podcast. We hope to ramp up the content in the coming months just because we're spending more money on the servers. So
you can always, on our YouTube page, go and donate money if you want to help the cause. So that'll bring this episode of the House by the Video Store podcast to an end. Thanks for listening.